of things. When you're going to ask a question and you want to engage the audience, your hand should be up before you finish the sentence. So how many of you guys are at a crossroads in your life right now? Do you see the difference in the energy? And you hold it up there and you look expectantly. And if you really want to take it to a black belt, what you then do is say thank you when they raise their hands, because you're rewarding them for complicity, right? So that's the first thing, is it'll create a little bit of engagement.
Very good tip.
The other thing is that you, right now I'm not sure where you were going, so tell me the product.
I'm advising companies about talent management, so get the best out of themselves on talent employees who has talent.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, and by the way, she was doing very well to try to start off with what was important to them. Right now, I don't see how she was going to bridge from where she was going to what she wanted to do fast enough. In fact, there wasn't even a linear relationship between the questions. So that's important, that the questions seem to build on each other. Yeah. So her ideal target market might be entrepreneurs. Then we might say that it's entrepreneurs of, say, between 5 and 50 employees, and in Holland, let's just say, okay? So then she'd say, she might come out here and say, how many of you guys have found it harder and harder to sell stuff these days compared to 10 years ago? How many of you guys have noticed that, right? And how many of you guys have find that if you could just get face-to-face with your customers, that you'd be able to sell, but you're having a hard time getting it? How many of you? Yeah? Well, what I want to do is I want to show you a way where you can make sure that you have 5 times as many appointments coming to you with half the marketing money. Are you guys interested in learning more about that? Are you with me?
Oh, yes.
Give her a big hand.
Thank you.
Come on, I'm only going to be able to do 2 more. Sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. I have time issues. But thank you. But give everybody a big hand that came up here. Give them a big hand. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kathleen. Have you ever any experience about that situation when a teenager comes and say, I have to tell you something? Thank you. And you have a feeling, maybe I missed something. Let me show you some way. How can you catch up?
Okay, so jump in, right? And so immediately what happened is she's dating like a guy. She started off with just enough platitude to get you interested, and then immediately she's like, let me tell you something. If you are using me or I early on in the pitch, you got a problem. You're talking about you right away. So what's the ultimate product?
It's an idea about the membership site for teenagers and moms.
To connect them for communicating?
Yes.
Okay. So what I might do is, how many of you guys are parents? Cool. How many of you guys, from time to time, worry about your children? Yeah. How many of you wish that you could get your kids to talk to you about stuff that you really need them to talk to you about? You know, I can tell you that my son, the first time he drank alcohol, he called me. And he said, my friends are about to go drinking, Dad. I'm in Germany, and I'm at this camp, and it's so much fun. And I want to know, how many beers do you think I can drink that's safe for me to drink? How many of you guys would like for your child to call you and ask you that kind of a question? Well, I have this website that you can join with your kids. It's super fun for them and super powerful for you, and it creates a mechanism for you guys to create that dialogue together. How many of you guys would like to know more about that? Give her a big hand. Before you begin, now pay attention to what we did there. We talked to them about what was important to them. We then relate a little bit of a story that gives us a little credibility, and then boom, we made an offer directly to what they've just told us they're already interested in. Right? We're not selling, we're introducing. It's a whole different thing. You have 30 seconds.
How many people here are parents? How many people here have family members with children? How many are the children have family members with children under 12 years? How many people have family members who have so much time to spend that they worry about where they have to leave their children? How many are here who have when they come from, that they have troubles with planning with their work and the children?
All right. So now what's happening here, and this is very, whenever I do this example, if one of the early people starts off with how many of you questions, they all go that way, which is fine. It's a good way to think. And everybody's been brought up to do this spontaneously. They haven't had a chance to really think it through. One of the issues is if you want to ask the right number of questions that engage them, but not so many questions that it starts feeling like just questions, right? Soon there has to be a value contribution for them. So what's the ultimate service?
They care 24/7.
24/7 daycare.
Yes.
And do they have to buy, do they have to commit their children all the time, or can they do drop-in?
No, it's flexible, so they can do whenever they want.
Okay. So by the way, is that an interesting service?
Yeah.
Parents will know. So what I might do is I might say, how many of you guys are parents? How many of you guys are parents of fairly young children? Right. How many of you guys are concerned these days about really good childcare? How many of you guys? Have you noticed that a lot of the places around here require that you book your kids in all the time? Have you noticed that? And how about this? Have you noticed that the daycare's hours are convenient for the daycare but not for you? What if you could find a place that offered 24/7 childcare, that you could literally drop your kids off whenever you want, you knew that it was safe, you knew that it was clean, and you knew that your kids were going to have so much fun that they'd be sad when you picked them up to take them home? How many people like that? Do you get the point? We start off with our overall target market. We then drill down to specific narrow target markets. Then we figure out what's important to them. Then by listening to them, by conducting extensive research. Look, if you have a company that has sort of over 10 employees and above, you don't do this by just thinking. You go out and hire a research company to find out everything you can about the industry, not your product, about what's important to your clients. And then you figure out how to engage them. And then once you've engaged them, you incept them. You incept them. In other words, you give them content, you give them educational content, you give them experience that is so compelling and powerful for them that they realize they want that product or service and they want it from you. Does this make sense to you? It's very powerful stuff. Now, when we are incepting somebody, there's something important. If I have an iPhone and I have an Android, can I put the same files into both of them? No, because they have a different interface. They have, first of all, a different physical interface, and secondly, they have a different software interface. What are your physical interfaces? How do I put information into your head? Ears, eyes, through your senses, right? That's your USB port. But now you have software. What is the best possible language to communicate with you in? What's that? All languages, yes, it's Holland. You speak 4 languages. I understand. Stop lagging. What I meant is past your languages, there are models of communication. Are you going to learn more if I tell you a whole lot of facts, or are you going to learn more if I tell interesting stories? Because facts are only remembered when they are delivered in a way that engages emotion. Emotion is the glue that creates memory. In fact, here's something fascinating. Here's something really fascinating. I'm going to suggest to you that evolutionarily speaking, we, people, have exactly the right amount of memory, not more, not less, that is perfect for our survival. More memory would be tough for our survival, less memory would be tough for our survival. I'll give you an example. Are there things in this room that you right now cannot see, even if you're looking right at them? Yes. Yeah, because they're outside of your range of vision, right? You can see, are there animals that can see things different than us?
Yes.
Yeah, an eagle can read a license plate from a mile in the sky. I mean, if it could read. People always use that example, like, the eagles can't read, man. But they can see it, right? And then there are insects that can see colors on plants that we can't see. So we see exactly what Homo sapiens needs to see to survive in this world. Not more, not less. We hear exactly what we need to be able to hear. If we could hear more, it would be distracting. Imagine if you had hearing like a dog. You know, I don't know if any of you have had this experience where you have a bad cold or you have wax in your ears or something and then somebody cleans it out and then suddenly you can hear everything better. It's amazing, right? Well, if you could hear everything like a dog can hear everything, holy cow, it would be busy. It would be noisy all the time, right? But we have exactly the right hearing for our survival. We have the exact right smell. Aren't you grateful for that? Sometimes. Right? But with memory, it's the same thing. We have exactly the right amount of memory for our survival. How many of you think it would be really cool to have a lot more memory? How many people are thinking, my wife has a good enough memory already? Now, here's the kicker though. I've been talking about this for years, and then my brother calls me up one day and he says, Eric, I know you do training in public speaking, personal branding around being a speaker, and he says, a friend of mine would like to become a speaker. Could you help him? And I go, what does he want to speak about? He said, well, he has this thing. It's like an it's an uncontrollable autobiographical memory. He doesn't forget things. I said, what? And he goes, yeah, watch this clip on YouTube. And he was on TV, and he'd be up on the stage, and people would ask him, he'd go, give me a date. And they would shout out a date. And they'd shout out, January 13th, 2004. And he'd go, it was a Thursday. I had spaghetti for lunch that day, and the headline of the newspaper said this, and this single got released. And these movies were in the charts. How cool would that be? Would that be cool? No, it wouldn't be cool at all. Because you know that breakup that put you in tears and made you feel like your life was over? You know that time when you quit your job and you were full of fear or somebody fired you? Or you remember that time you were in that car accident and had all that trauma? What if that trauma never went away? Because that's what it's like for him. The horrible breakup that he went through when he was 16 is just as real for him now as it was then, because his memory doesn't fade away. Isn't that fascinating? We are meant to forget things.